America's Most Haunted Hotel, the Black Hollow Hotel, a cinematic horror story. Chapter 1, The Stormy Night. Deep in the swamps outside New Orleans stood an abandoned building known as the Black Hollow Hotel. The hotel had been closed for decades. Locals avoided the place. They said strange lights still appeared in the windows at 3 a.m. Some claimed they heard a woman crying in the darkness. Others swore they saw shadowy figures staring from the upper floors. And according to the town's oldest legend, anyone who entered the hotel never came back. Daniel Carter. Daniel Carter was one of America's most famous paranormal YouTubers. Millions watched his ghost investigations online. Haunted prisons, abandoned hospitals, cursed forests. Daniel had explored them all. One rainy evening, he received an anonymous email. The message contained only one sentence: "If you truly want to see real ghosts, go to Black Hollow Hotel." Attached was an old photograph. A little girl stood in front of the hotel. She wore a white dress, but her eyes were completely black. Daniel smiled. This is going to blow up online. The team. Daniel gathered his crew. Asterisk Sarah, camera operator. Asterisk Mike, sound engineer. Asterisk Jake, drone specialist. As they drove toward the hotel, Sarah researched its history. Black Hollow Hotel opened in 1891. It was once a luxury destination for wealthy families. But in 1913, a mysterious fire destroyed most of the building. 47 people died that night. Yet investigators discovered something impossible. Many bodies were never found. It was as if the victims had vanished into thin air. After the fire, terrifying stories began spreading. Asterisk doors opening by themselves. Asterisk bloodstains appearing on walls. Asterisk children laughing in empty rooms. Asterisk a woman in white wandering the halls. No one stayed there after dark. Arrival. The team arrived shortly before midnight. Thunder shook the sky. Rain crashed against the broken windows. The hotel stood like a giant corpse in the darkness. Its rusted gates creaked in the wind. Sarah whispered nervously, "I really don't like this place." Daniel grinned at the camera. "That's exactly why we're here." They stepped inside. The first warning. The smell inside was unbearable. Rotten wood, mold, and something else. Something that smelled like death. Jake swept his flashlight across the lobby. Suddenly, thud, 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 footsteps echoed from the second floor. Everyone froze. Mike checked the audio recorder. Without anyone touching it, the device turned on by itself. A distorted voice crackled through the speaker. "Get out." Silence filled the hallway. Room 306. The hotel's most infamous room was room 306. According to local rumors, most deaths happened there. The wooden door was covered in deep scratch marks. Like someone had desperately tried to escape. Daniel slowly pushed the door open. Inside, the walls were blackened from fire damage. The room looked frozen in time. But one thing seemed strangely untouched. A wooden chair stood perfectly clean in the center. And sitting on it, was a doll. A little girl's doll wearing a white dress. Sarah's face turned pale. That wasn't there before. Suddenly, slam, the door shut behind them. The girl. Every light went out instantly. Mike cursed as the cameras malfunctioned. Then they heard it. A little girl laughing. Soft at first. Then louder. And louder. And louder. Daniel switched on his flashlight. In the far corner of the room stood a child. Long black hair covered most of her face. White dress. Bare feet. And completely black eyes. She slowly stepped toward them. Jake disappears. Jake panicked and ran into the hallway. The others chased after him. But when they reached the corridor, Jake was gone. Only his flashlight remained on the floor. A whisper echoed through the hotel. "Don't leave me." Sarah grabbed Daniel's arm. "We need to get out now." They sprinted toward the entrance. But the main doors slammed shut by themselves. The truth beneath the hotel. The team searched the basement for another exit. Hidden among the dust and rubble, they found old newspapers and journals. The truth was horrifying. The 1913 fire had not been an accident. The hotel owner had been obsessed with dark rituals. He believed human souls could grant immortality. On the night of the fire, he locked the guests inside and started the blaze himself. His ritual failed, but something evil remained trapped inside the hotel. Something alive. Behind the walls, a faint voice echoed through the basement. "Help me." Daniel followed the sound. Behind a cracked wall, they discovered a hidden room. Inside were dozens of old photographs of missing children. In the center sat a rocking chair moving slowly on its own. Creak, creak, Sarah suddenly screamed. The little girl was standing right behind her. This time she was smiling. But it wasn't a human smile. The shadows. Mike pointed the camera toward the girl. The screen revealed something horrifying. She wasn't alone. Dozens of burned shadow figures stood behind her. Men, women, children, all staring silently. The room temperature dropped instantly. Blood began dripping down the walls. And then, the screaming started. Sarah's fate. An invisible force suddenly lifted Sarah into the air. She cried for help as her body slammed against the ceiling. Then, crack, she hit the floor violently. Her neck twisted unnaturally. Daniel stood frozen in horror. The camera kept recording. Across the screen appeared a message, "You should not have come." Endless hallways. Daniel and Mike ran through the hotel. But the building had changed. The hallways stretched endlessly. Doors disappeared. Clocks spun backward. Every room contained the same little girl. Sometimes crying, sometimes laughing, sometimes covered in blood. The hotel no longer felt abandoned. It felt hungry. The hotel owner, Mike, suddenly stopped walking. His voice trembled. "Daniel, there's someone behind me." Daniel slowly turned the camera. Standing in the darkness was the hotel owner. His skin was burned black. His eyes empty and hollow. In his hand he held an old brass key. The lights exploded, and Mike vanished. The curse. Now completely alone, Daniel returned to the basement. There he found an ancient ritual book. One sentence was written repeatedly across its pages. "As long as one living soul remains inside, the hotel survives." Daniel finally understood. The hotel was trapping people to keep itself alive. 3 a.m. At exactly 3 a.m., the entire building began shaking violently. Ghostly screams echoed through every hallway. Walls cracked open. Shadow figures crawled across the ceilings. Then the little girl appeared one final time. Blood tears streamed from her black eyes. She whispered softly, "We are trapped here. Please free us." Fire. Daniel carried gasoline through the basement. If the hotel lived through souls, then it had to burn. He ignited the flames. Fire exploded through the hallways. The ghosts screamed. The walls collapsed. Smoke swallowed the darkness. Then the little girl smiled at him. "Now you belong here too." The last recording. The next morning, police arrived at the ruins. The entire hotel had burned down. But investigators found no bodies. Only one camera survived. Its final footage showed Daniel screaming into the darkness. And behind him, hundreds of black eyes staring directly into the lens. The video ended suddenly. 1 year later, a group of young paranormal explorers visited the site. But something impossible had happened. Black Hollow Hotel was standing again. Completely untouched, as if the fire had never happened. A figure appeared in the upstairs window. It was Daniel. His eyes were now completely black. The beginning. Even today, locals near the swamps whisper the same warning. If you visit Black Hollow Hotel at 3 a.m., you may hear a voice from inside saying, "Welcome. We've been waiting for you."